The EU has accused Apple of breaching the bloc's tech rules and stifling competition in its App Store. The EU regulators have brought charges against the tech giant under the new Digital Markets Act, which forces big tech to comply with strict competition rules. Apple could face a fine of up to 10% of its global annual revenue if it's found in breach of the new rules. In response, the company said it is confident in its compliance. The latest probe marks another escalation in Apple's relationship with the bloc. Earlier this year, the EU imposed a €1.8 billion fine on the tech giant over competition in the streaming space. There's also an ongoing dispute over tax arrangements between Apple and Ireland. Francisco Jeronimo joins us now, the VP of Data and Analytics and Devices International Data Corporation. Francisco, nice to see you again.
Hi, good morning.
This is a big one as the regulators are taking a look over Apple at the same time that Apple's trying to push ahead with an AI strategy. And first up, there is this issue that there needs to be other ways to access apps other than the App Store. This is what the European Commission is looking at. Is that fair at this point?
Well, indeed, what the European Commission is really pushing is to open competition in the Apple and the iOS, particularly ecosystem, by allowing other developers to launch and make available other marketplaces to distribute apps rather than for us as users just to having access to the App Store as the only way to get the apps.
It's like a shopping mall, right? So you go to a shopping mall, a shopping centre is owned by the same group. You keep popping in there, going to a variety of stores, but overall the centre is owned by one place. We're saying in a marketplace online, there must be other options now.
Exactly. But what the European Commission is saying is that any shopping mall should allow any company to distribute their products in their shopping mall and without charging for that specific business. Because what Apple introduced early this year was an alternative to app developers where they could choose between the current model where they pay 30% of what is sold in the App Store or a reduced rate if they are smaller developers, or a new model to comply with EU where developers can launch their marketplace, can distribute their own apps through their marketplaces in the iPhone on iOS, but they will have to pay Apple a fee, the core technology fee, and that's what the European Commission is challenging, whether this fee and also the requirements for Apple, for app developers to launch their app marketplaces are fair or not.
If I'm Westfield...
That was the obvious one that came up, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I'm just following you, okay, yeah. If I'm Westfield, which owns significantly huge malls in West and East London, if people don't want to come to my store, that's my mall, that's fine, they can go elsewhere. If you don't want to have access to the customers who only want to come for the experience I'm producing at Westfield or wherever it may well be, Brent Cross when I was growing up in the 80s, there you go, there's a blast from the past. Then go elsewhere. Isn't that a legitimate argument? If you don't like it, if you don't want access to what we've created, then go elsewhere.
But what the European Commission is saying with this investigation,
become so successful.
Exactly, you are so big that you don't allow smaller developers to succeed and to sell their applications. What the European Commission fails to understand is that you go to Westfield because you like the experience, because Westfield or the company behind spend billions perfecting that experience. And if you need to open your shopping mall to anyone to sell their products, how do you guarantee the quality of the experience?
There's no other high streets around in the internet marketplace, right? But even if you find your way...
point out that Shepherd's Bush is about 3 stops from Oxford Circus, which is one of the biggest shopping streets on the planet.
On the internet, this is the problem. There's no other, seemingly no other high streets you can stop at on the internet. If you do stop there and it's through a web browser directly, often you end up using Apple Pay to complete the transaction as well, so they're still clipping the ticket.
Let me go for another analogy before you answer. A friend of mine had a mid-sized business, small to SME, which has been selling a product for about 250 years. Now, obviously, their channels to market became tough. They used to use a very, very well-known middle-class high street chain, supermarket, department store chain for distributing the goods. But that department store asked for so much money. They actually then went to a very well-known online marketplace. It begins with A and ends in Maison, and actually had to give Amazon their clip of ticket, but actually their sales went through the roof because they got access to the Amazon marketplace as well. Yes, you're giving up a large percentage of your potential revenues, but the amount of money that you are making because you have access to that market
The
is
eyeballs
disproportionate. I mean, just
Exactly.
jump in.
That's absolutely right. Apple opens a door to the world for all these small app developers, and the majority of them will not sell enough to pay the billions that the large developers like Epic Games
Lipsy, page 36 or whatever it is, economies of scale. They need the economies of scale of it being in that marketplace.
Exactly. And that's the and when we look into the other big ecosystem, which is Android and Google in particular, they allow other marketplaces to succeed and to be available on Android devices. Samsung App Store, Huawei, Amazon Marketplace, etc. But the majority of consumers continue to go to Google Play because it's the best experience and provides the most secure experience for Android users. The same way as Apple wants to guarantee the experience and the security for their customers.
Can we get to the consequences then? Yeah. Can the European Commission actually bring about change where some other app store comes out of nowhere challenging the services that Apple's able to collect? Number one consequence. The second consequence is, what about the rest of the companies, Meta, Google, that are also being scrutinized under the Digital Markets Act now by the Commission?
The European Commission is also looking to Google and the Google Play practices to see if there's also some non-compliance procedures with the DMA, the Digital Markets Act.
I don't want to let you go because you're such a brain box on this stuff as well. Why is... Can I take a step back holistically? Is Europe determined to destroy all technological companies or just American ones? Because let's be brutally honest about it. The regulatory environment in Europe, and I'm going to switch sectors now to the telecom sector for technology. The European technology sector is in tatters because of the regulatory environment imposed by Brussels and national governments as well. They have enormous capex to bring on the new technology, but have zero profitability compared with the tech companies as well. Does Europe ever think about building companies rather than destroying companies?
Well, the European Union is trying to make a point in terms of regulation. They really want to
show
control...
me the customer who doesn't want to pay the money that they have to pay for their mobile contract to get access to this stuff.
Exactly. And by bringing all this regulation into place, yes, it protects the citizens, it protects the consumers, but at what cost? Because at the end of the day, smaller developers in this specific case will not succeed even if they have the entire Apple doors open, because there's a lot of money that goes into research and development and promotion of those apps for them to really succeed.
Let you go. I'm gutted because obviously we got Dalian after the break as well. But thank you so
Thank you
much
very
indeed.
much.
I think genuinely this is a fascinating conversation on so many levels. Please join us.
And it will put you at risk, especially with AI becoming such a disruptive technology, and Apple is delaying the launch of Apple Intelligence, and other players are really reconsidering whether they should make
Do you
them
mind
available.
if we book you in for another... we'll break a rule, but in a couple of weeks' time we'll do this again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Francisco Jeronimo, who is VP Data and Analytics and Devices at International Data Corporation. I think we could have done an hour there, couldn't we?
Definitely.
Sorry, Arabino, please.